Hello, today we will study how to perform data pre-processing and data visualization technique using some of the packages available in Python. So the packages which we will study for this assignment will be pandas, matplotlib, seaborn and plotly. So make sure you have installed these packages in your system before you s- write the programs for those packages. To install these packages, you have to use this command and make sure they are installed. So basically, a pandas package, what it does, it provides support for very high level data structures like data frames. Data frames generally store data in a tabular format in the format of rows and columns. Matplotlib, Seaborn, and Plotly, these packages they provide various functions available to show data visualization on the basis of tabular data. So generally, when you have to perform data analysis or data visualization, you need data in a matrix format, and that data is generally stored in the data frame. So frame is a high level data structure, consists of rows and column. uh, Generally, the data can be taken as an input from Excel files or CSV file, or like the tabular data from databases. So first thing in any data science project is the data pre-processing. This is the much important step, and it takes almost more than 50% of the time in any project to perform some basic data pre-processing task. So the data pre-processing is required because many times a data is not neat and tidy, it's incomplete, noisy, and inconsistent. To process such data, the data need to be complete. Data need to be pre-processed. So the incomplete data is to give the example. We can say, let's take a um, column in a table which you need to fill up the date date of birth of a user. Then some users might fill the date, but some users, if they forgot to fill that date, then that data is either null or not in the correct format. Like some users might end up, because of the error, maybe man-made or computer-made, they might enter name. So that is the example of incomplete data. Noisy data is the data where, let's say, if somebody has to specify the date or the age, then the age should be like in the range 1 year to 100 year or something like that. But the value of age can will be like, it is very it is very abnormal to enter a value of, let's say, 300 or 500 as age value. That is the example of noisy data. And inconsistent data, so this is the data which contain discrepancies in code. So let's say example of the grades. In some schools, the grades are given as in A1, B1, C1 format, and in some schools they used to give grades in like first class, second class, etc. So to evaluate such data, first it need to be converted into correct format, and that is the meaning of inconsistent data. So let's take at this example. Here you can see the different examples. Like, this is the example which shows normalization. You can see this data which was raw data, and if you try to plot a graph on the raw data, it will look something like this for the values x1, x2 and x3. But after data preprocessing, if you try to plot, then it will look something like this. Then can you see the difference? There is a vivid difference between the values. So that's why data pre-processing is very important. So data pre-processing helps to identify outliers, and it helps to fill out missing values, and give the mean and median values, etc. These are few of the example. So most commonly used library in Python for for data is pandas, numpy, scikit-learn, and seaborn. So the other libraries are stats model, feature engine, dask, missingo, open refine, etc. So you will study how to create a data frame and etc. uh, so these are some of the functions in the data frame. I am going to give you a practical example. So we will study the data visualization packages. So matplotlib, basically a matplotlib has a submodule which is pyplot, and most of the matplotlib utilities lie under this pyplot submodule, and they are imported under the plt alias. So if you have to use matplotlib, you have to use this command, import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. So now the pyplot package can be referred to as plt. So using matplotlib, you can draw very basic visualizations like line plots. A line plot will look something like this. Then a scatter plot. A scatter plot is used to explore relationship between two continuous variables without assuming a linear trend. So a scatter plot will look something like this. Bar plots also you can plot using matplotlib. So you have to use the bar function, and bar plots will look like this. A histogram, which is used to show the distribution of a continuous variable. So let's say if you have to ask for the height of 250 people, you might end up with a histogram like this. So this is the distribution of height. And then a box plot will look something like this. So it summarizes the distribution of a quantitative variable, highlighting the 5 number summary: minimum, first quartile, mid, third quartile, and maximum. It will look something like this. This is the box plot. A pie chart also, you can basic pie chart you can plot using matplotlib. So a pie chart will look something like this, and by default it will start plotting from this x-axis. Then a seaborn package, using seaborn package which is built on top of matplotlib, you can draw categorical plots. So categorical plots create consist of various plots like bar, violin, box, etc. So see, this is a example of a violin plot. This is the example of a scatter plot, etc. A distribution plots also you can draw using seaborn. So this is the enhanced histogram drawn using seaborn. A relation plots also are you can draw using seaborn. So this is like a scatter diagram, but it will analyze data for three different values. So this is like advanced relational plot, scatter plot. Heat maps also you can see, you can draw using Seaborn library. The Plotly library provides support for interactive plots. So and it supports static and type series plots also. So now let's study what is the correlation analysis in data mining. So basically, a correlation analysis is a data mining technique used to identify the degree to which two or more variables are related or associated with each other. It measures how changes in one variable are related to change in another variable. Correlation can be positive, negative, or zero depending on the direction and strength of the relationship between the variables. So let's take an example between the hours of study and the grades obtained by students. So here, this is the correlation analysis. Now, a positive correlation indicates that the grade obtained, if students study, the number of hours of study increases, the grades obtained also increases, then it is a positive correlation. But if it is observed that even students, the number of hours of study increases, the grades are decreasing, then it can be stated as a negative correlation. And if there is no change in the relationship between the two variables, you can say that there is a zero correlation. So now study the important terms to in data analysis and visualization: univariate analysis, bivariate analysis, and multivariate analysis. So the univariate analysis is where the data you are analyzing is only on one variable. So like say you have to analyze data for one column only. A bivariate analysis is where we are comparing two variables to study their relationship, and multivariate analysis refers to it is similar to bivariate analysis, but you are comparing more than two variables. Then that is a three variables analysis, or any variables more than that, it will be referred to as multivariate analysis. uh, let's say how to use data structures available in Python. So the pandas library you have to import, you have to use this command, import pandas as pd. So this will allow to use PD, uh, PD is shorthand to refer to all the modules, functions, etc. available in the pandas package. A data frame is a two-dimensional label data structure which with columns of potentially different types. So it will look something like this: columns and indexes and the value. So this data you can create using this code. And now you must have seen this data is in the dictionary format. To convert it into the data frame, you have to use this command pd. So this is the shorthand for the pandas. And then pd using, you have to call data frame function and pass the data structure, which is dictionary name data here, and you have to provide name of the columns. Using this you can create data frame. Now there are many functions available to work with the data frame. So like drop function, it will drop values using rows. Or this, if you want to drop values referring columns, you have to provide value as axis and provide the name of the column. If you have to see help, then use the help function. This sorting and ranking functions you can use on data frame objects to sort the data frame and rank the data frame. So the other functions which are available, like if you want to take data input as a input from a CSV file, use read CSV function in this way. If you want to take input data using from Excel file, use read Excel function. If you have to take data as input from SQL query or database table, these commands you can refer. Now selecting particular rows and columns in data frame can be done using slice operator also, or using the indexing also. So like this is the indexing for the data frame, which will return one element only. And the slice operator, if you use it, will also give you a subset from a data frame. Now there are there are many other methods which are available. Like if you want to select data frame rows and columns by position, then use iloc function. What it will do is, you have to pass the indexing of columns and rows to this function, and then it will return you the respective element. If you have to select data using labels, then you have to pass row numbers and column labels. For that you can use the lock function. Then you can use these different functions like shape, index, columns, info, and count functions. This function will give you, the shape function will tell you how many number of rows and columns are available in a data frame. So data frame is in a tabular form, so it will have definite number of rows and columns. Index will tell you how many rows are there. Columns will tell you how many columns are there. Info function will give you information on the data frame. Count function will return the number of non NA value, means none value. So these built-in functions like summary, minimum, mean, and median, you can also use them for data frame objects. And again with data frames, you can use some this addition, subtraction, division, and multiplication operations also. So now try to use these functions and see some practical examples. So you have to read data. Uh, Please refer to this link. I will share the PPT with you. You have to download this data set and you can perform different types of analysis. So the code is, first you need to import pandas module using this line. Then the next step is you have to read the file and you can use these attributes like info, describe, head and tail. They will they will provide you the information about data frames, statistic, top 5 rows and bottom 5 rows. Then next thing is how to create a data frame. So in previous example, you have imported data from CSV file into a data frame. To create a data frame, you have to use dictionary, and so the code will look something like this. You have to create some dictionary and then you have to call the data frame function from this PD, and then you have to pass the name of the dictionary. So the fill, to handle missing values, you can use fill NA function. To convert specific column to a numerical data type, you can use this to numeric function, and to drop unnecessary columns, you can use the drop function. Some commonly used pandas methods for data preprocessing are like head method. It displays the first 10 rows or the last 10 rows of the data frame. Head and tail methods, if you pass, by default, if you pass the number, then it will provide the first and last rows by that number. Info method is provides a concise summary of the data frame, and describe method, it shows the descriptive statistics of the data frame including count, mean, standard deviation, mean and max. So is null and non-null methods, they returns a data frame of the same shape where each element is a boolean indicating whether the corresponding element in the original data frame is null or not. Drop NA, it removes missing values from the database. So drop NA basically removes the total row. And to fill missing values with some particular value, you have to use fill NA function and pass the respective value so that the NAs will be replaced with those value. So uh, m- how let's take at this example, how to use matplotlib to plot a bar chart. So you have to use pandas and matplotlib. First two lines of code will import that. You have to create a data frame, and to plot a bar chart you have to use this plt and then call the bar function. Here you have to pass two parameters, value for x-axis and y-axis, and then if you want to add labels, you can add labels for x-axis and y-axis. Title also you can add, and to show the bar plot, call show method on this plt object. So this will be the bar chart. To use Seaborn, you have to use this code, like you have to import Seaborn also. It's basically provides support for matplotlib. So you need pandas, matplotlib and Seaborn, and import these modules, then create a data, convert it into data frame. If you have to plot a scatter plot, then use this plt attribute, and figure, you have to pass the figure size. Then from this Seaborn library, you have to use this shorthand which are described here, and call the scatter plot method. So value for x-axis will be value 1, value for y-axis will be value 2. The data frame you are going to pass is this data frame, and then you, so the value of category will be, scatter plot will consider it as a hue, and then you can add a title, and this show function will plot the scatter plot. Similarly, to plot a bar plot on this, on using Seaborn, you have to call this bar plot method and pass the values accordingly and call the plot.show method. So here you will see a scatter plot and bar plot for the values which are passed. And plotly, to use plotly, what you have to do is that you have to import plotly and then pandas package, create one data frame, and you can, if you want to see the scatter plot, so this is the function definition: pass data frame name, x value, y value, text and title, and you have to call the show method which will print the scatter plot. So this is the scatter plot. Now this is not interactive, but plotly plots interactive plots. Okay, so now we will study how to uh, perform data preprocessing and draw some visualization. So I have imported these libraries. Next, uh, this line will read the CSV file into this dataset object. The head function will will show the first 10 rows from the dataset. Shape function will tell the shape. Tail function will show the last 7 rows from the entire dataset. Describe function will show the statistical summary about all the columns and rows. This info function will provide value like value for each column, the respective data time, and etc. Tail function will show last 20 tails if you execute this command. Columns will show all the columns. Then D types will tell the data type of each of the respective column. Now, if you have to select see data for city column and for first 5 rows, execute this command, you will see first 5 rows and for from the city column only. Now log function will display data for these 2 columns, and see this is the slice operator. Here, as you have not we have not mentioned start and end, by default it will display data for all rows in the data frame for these 2 columns. So like this will be the output. Now see here, you cannot see the whole data, but this we has retrieved all the data. So similarly, this, if you have to select specific rows and specific columns, this uh, command will select rows numbers 1, 3 and 5, and it will display information only for these 2 columns. Uh, is null, it will show the null values available in the database. So if you have to check are there any null values in the database, you can use this command. If you have to find total number of null values, then you will get it here. Uh, if you have to find null values from the attendance column only, then you can see like for these rows, the for which rows the value was false. The false means that the attendance was not there. Then the fill. So now see uh, how to use packages to plot the data. So here, uh, this packages I have imported using the code, and from this file, see you have to provide path here to this read CSV function, and it will read this function. It will read the CSV file using this alias of pandas library, and it will store the value into the this object, data frame object. And if you see print function will print all the information. Now, uh, uh, if you have to see the value of head, first 10 rows, you can see it here. This will show the value of last 10. Info describe, we have already studied these functions. Now see how to plot graphs. Okay, so like you have to call, if you have to show histogram, then uh, so this will be the histogram for all the columns from the database. And uh, so this is the histogram. Now see how to plot a histogram of marks obtained by students in a class for values. Like histogram should have 5 buckets or bins. So the first bucket will have marks in the range 0 to 25, second will have marks in the range 26 to 50, and etc. So these two packages you will need. And then suppose you will give input using this basic simple data frame object. So this is the code. Okay, now if I execute this code, you will see a histogram. So this is the example how to plot the histogram. Now uh, if you have to see uh, the if the first element of the return tuple will be, then you can see this. So basically uh, now if I execute this, how to plot the blocks plot. So this is the code, you can refer it, I will share the files. Using this way you can plot different type of plots. Now scatter plot, let's say if you have to plot the scatter plot, then this is the scatter plot and this is the code. Similarly, this is the code for histogram. You will see a histogram. So see, basically you have to call first the respective function and then you have to pass the values of title, x label and y label using matplotlib. And then uh, so the annotate function, what it does is that i- it is in a from plot module and it used to get and set the current tick locations at labels of the x-axis. So see, this is the example. uh, so refer this code and you can plot different types of plot in the using matplotlib, python, matplotlib, seaborn and plotly.